Family spokesperson Griselda Kananda.
As we're gathering here, the person who made it possible for us to be able to trace Olerato was taken in by police in a van and is going to be interrogated. All we're asking for is that can the person at least be granted an opportunity to be part of what they've been able to uncover, and now they've been taken. We're pleading for cool heads in order for us to work hand in hand with the community.
In the courts now, the National Prosecuting Authority has reiterated the call for all South Africans to work together to protect children. The call comes at the back of a heavy sentence handed down in the Jocelyn Smith trial today. Jocelyn's mother, Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Paulus and Stefano van Ryn have been handed life sentences after being found guilty of kidnapping and human trafficking related to the child's disappearance. The NPA says the judgment is testament to its commitment to protecting the rights of children. Carlo Peterson has more.
Western Cape Director of Public Prosecutions, Nicolette Bowell, lamented the fact that during Child Protection Week, Jocelyn Smith is still missing despite her mother, Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Paulus and Stefano van Ryn receiving life sentences today. Bowell urged the Saldanha Bay community to continue looking for the missing girl who disappeared from a middle post home in Saldanha in February last year. Jocelyn was 6 years old at the time.
Today's result is also a testimony of what happens if community, stakeholders, everybody work together as a collective. Then we have positive outcomes like this.
Bowell also lauded the community for playing an active role in getting its dignity back after Jocelyn disappeared. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Saldanha Bay.
For the second time in 2 years, network regulator ICASA is once again investigating Elon Musk's Starlink for allegedly operating illegally in South Africa. Starlink is a satellite broadband service operated by SpaceX, which is owned by Musk. In 2023, ICASA issued a notice warning it was illegal for anyone or company to use Starlink as it doesn't hold a license to operate in the country. ICASA spokesperson Mili Matlou says the regulator has received recent reports that Starlink is offering its services in the country without authorization.
ICASA has launched an investigation into the alleged unlawful use and provision of Starlink services in South Africa. We have also engaged SpaceX for further clarity and have currently deployed inspection team on the ground to investigate the matter further. We call on members of the public with supporting evidence to come forward and assist ICASA in this ongoing investigation.
We'll shift our focus to this now. Ekurhuleni's Finance MMC, Jongizizwe Dlabati, has presented a 65 billion rand budget for the upcoming financial year. This represents an 8.6% increase from the current year's budget. Dlabati delivered his budget speech this morning at the Ekurhuleni Council in Germiston. Alpha Ramushwana has more.
Just like Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni has seen an increase in its annual budget, with the bulk of its revenue coming from services delivered to residential and commercial customers. Tariff increases have been implemented for the upcoming financial year, which are expected to generate additional income for the municipality. Ekurhuleni residents will now pay more for water, electricity, sanitation and refuse removal. However, Finance MMC Jongizizwe Dlabati says in some areas, the municipality has chosen not to raise tariffs.
0% increase on property rates given the new valuation rule. 0% on burial and cemetery tariff increase is proposed. 0% tariff increase for municipal bus services and the hiring of facilities.
He believes the metro was more lenient than other metros in raising service charges. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And in South Korea, authorities are investigating the cause of a Navy plane crash which killed all 4 people on board. The plane crashed in a mountainous area near the southeastern city of Ponghang just 6 minutes after taking off. The Maritime Patrol aircraft was conducting takeoff and landing training when it crashed. Fire authorities have sent more than 40 emergency service personnel in response to this incident. South Korea suffered the worst aviation disaster on its soil in December last year when a plane crash landed and exploded after slamming into a concrete barrier. Gold is trading at $3,276.54 an ounce. The rand is at 17.91 to the dollar, 24.11 to the pound, 20.19 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.90 a barrel.
Kempton Park heading towards Pretoria. You can expect about a 30-minute delay on the R21 northbound. That's between the R23 Benoni off-ramp and the R25 Popsfontein exit. That's all due to a stationary vehicle. As a result of that, there's heavy delays on the R23 between the R21 and Pretoria Road. So if you are leaving OR Tambo International Airport, allow for some extra traveling time. And in Selby, there's also about a 20-minute delay on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN, friends, family and colleagues of Olerato Mongale have gathered in Bloemfontein this afternoon to remember her life.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. Walk through history, walk with it. Sunday, 27 July, 7:02 Walk the Talk. Hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. More on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Thursday, the 29th of May. We've got an interesting show coming up, but definitely extremely sad. The stories of Olerato and, of course, the case of Jocelyn Smith and that ruling. Well, stay tuned to EWN for all of the developments of those stories. All right, so what we've got coming up on the show, I want to kick off by finding out from all of you, what does family time, quality family time look like in your home? Who is a part of it? And what does it look like? Because I look at how our lives are changing so much. The home structure, there are more blended families, but also we have a lot of devices that are on. And what we see on television and commercials are families sitting down together having dinner. But I kind of feel like that doesn't really happen in real life, or maybe that's just my view. I want to hear from all of you what your experiences are, what they have been, and what works, and how you squeeze in quality family time. Belief matters. We're going to be talking about your rights as an employee regarding religious holidays. We'll be joined by Faith Mashapa, legal advisor at Strata G Labor Solutions, and I think this is going to be quite an important conversation. Think back to the conversation we had a while ago about whether our country is a Christian state or a secular state, and if that is the case, why is it that we only recognize officially in terms of public holidays Christian holidays that are on the calendar, like Christmas and Easter weekend? Then we wrap up with the consumer rights feature. Nola knows. Wendy Nola is with us. We have some feedback from one of the interactions we had with a listener, and it is such a good ending story. And then we're going to talk about what happens to recycled cell phone numbers. What happens to the new person if you get a number that was recycled? What happens? Because things can go terribly wrong, and how those new owners end up being hounded because of recycled numbers. And then we wrap up with opening up the lines to all of your consumer rights questions. So give us a call, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
7:02 Afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja
on 7:02.
Let's walk the talk.
What does family time, quality family time, look like in your homes? And I'm very, very curious, because it also got me thinking about what that looks like. And it doesn't just have to be the quality family time you have with your immediate unit. It can also be the spread out of, your parents, the cousins and all of those things. But the day-to-day stuff, what does that look like? What do you guys do as a family with your kids? Is it vacation together once a year? Is it sitting down and having dinner together as a family? Because we do know that the family structures are evolving and changing, and the family units are not quite what they used to be. And I wanted to not just share what my experience was, but also what inspired this conversation. So Asisi Po Burwana asked a question which was as follows. He said, and this was on X, he said, do the ordinary black South African families really set dinner tables to eat dinner? I've always been so fascinated by how we're depicted on television sitting at these dinner tables in a 4-roomed house. And I thought, that is such a valid question. That is a very valid question. And obviously not all black homes are the same, but how is it happening in your home, all types of homes? So if I think back to when I was younger, it was a mom and dad and 3 siblings, as in myself and my brothers. And what my mom, I do recall in primary school, when we're still living Kososhanguve, we didn't really have a formal dining room table, but we did have in the kitchen maybe what you describe as like a breakfast nook or a breakfast table, right? So it's those kitchens where right in the middle, there's a bit of an island of a prep station. And then attached to that island was a big round table that became where we sat to eat. And many a time it was myself and my siblings and my mom. If my dad was home early from work, he would join us, but generally he would have his food on a tray when he came back home after work. And then after that, when we look at the fact we moved out of Soshanguve, at some point my brother went to boarding school, and then we were go Pretoria North, and we were in a different type of home. It was a townhouse, but you know how townhouses are. It became that whole thing of open plan kitchen into the lounge, no dining room table. And at this point, we were quite scattered. My younger brother was at home. I was then at some point at boarding school. And if we were eating, it was either on your lap or you had those high chairs that you would sit at the island and then have, your meal. But outside of where the meal is happening and how it's happening, there were no set times. Now that I'm a parent, dinner time becomes a set time because children need to have routines and they function well with routines. Now the challenge is, okay, if Wana is eating supper at 6 p.m. or 5:30, how is everyone else eating supper? And I have started to see the benefits of sitting and eating like just a sit-down meal where you say grace, and then outside of having the sit-down meal, like the benefits of what it does for a child who wants to see mommy eating vegetables, for example, who wants to see certain things taking place. Now, the last time there is a dining room in my home, the last time we sat down and had a family meal was in preparation for Mother's Day. That was the last time. And I felt bad because I do have the dining room table. The space is there. Majority of the time when supper happens in the home, it is scattered. It is different times. Sometimes like yesterday, I got home long after my son had eaten his supper. I left Prime Media quite late because I had work to do. And then you get there. The likelihood is that my son had supper at the kitchen table. And that it's like a high chair by the kitchen island. That's where he had supper. We barely use the dining room, and I feel bad. And then now I had to think, when does quality family time happen? Like properly, where you're doing stuff together. So the last time that happened would have been when we went to KZN. We stayed in Umhlanga and we did a family trip. And when we were there, Umhlanga, obviously you will do activities all together. It's going to the beach. It was going to the mall. It was going to Build-A-Bear. It was going to the arcade. It was sitting down, having meals together, something that we don't do in the day-to-day. So please do share with me, how does it happen in your home? How are you incorporating family quality time? Because the more and more I'm thinking about it, it's almost like that part of our lives is dying. Even now, if my mom comes over, sometimes it's like her having a tray in her lap while watching the TV, and there's a whole dining room. There's a whole dining room that just barely gets used. That dining room probably has been used more by my team and I than my family and I, where we sit down, share a meal, and then sort of have a meeting at the same time. And maybe we can use the opportunity to also share ideas with one another as to how we can start incorporating it, considering that our schedules are all over the place, considering that not everybody has a place where they can have a meal together. And it could be games nights. It could be maybe what you guys do in your families, that you all sit around. I know Date My Family and Our Perfect Wedding was quality family time for so many families. It really was. I don't know if families still sit and watch soapies together. That now also becomes a tricky thing, that because now there's a small child in my home where we're trying to manage screen time, the TV does not go on during the week. Maybe there'll be an exception if my mom is there, because my mother loves watching YouTube. Like, there's videos she puts on for her and my son of like a monkey playing with a chicken, just like random things. But even that I don't see as quality family time. And I do miss the part of sitting at a table together, of saying grace, of sharing a meal. I miss the fact that you can say grace together, because the grace isn't necessarily giving gratitude for the food, but it's also just gratitude for the space, gratitude for the family. And then it's to ask the question that, okay, if it's vacation and that's once a year, is that the only time quality family time happens? Is that the time? How are we doing it? Some families do games nights together. I saw somebody who was posting that as a family, and I don't know how often they do it, it's like cousins and aunts, and what they do is they play games outside. So they do ligusha, they do diketo, all of the different games, they are playing them outside in the street as a family. I know there are families who play Uno and they're fighting about the double reverse card. There are families who get together to do pranks on each other. There are families who their family quality time is shooting content together. So what is the family time? How are you guys doing it in your home? How can you advise other people to incorporate it? Shared meals is only one part of it, but what are the other parts? Maybe the family quality time is going to watch your child at a concert and inviting granny and everybody. I don't know, but I do feel like it's a department I'm definitely failing in. I'm trying to find different ways to incorporate that. My brother and I, my younger brother, who has 2 daughters, my nieces are very close with my son. My sister-in-law and I were pregnant at the same time. We try as 2 families to do stuff together so that the kids can also get an opportunity to spend time together. But even then, I don't recall the last time we sat as a family at a table. Oh, I remember a time. Okay, before I feel too bad. We did go on the Easter long weekend to go and visit my father. And we did sit around a table and share a meal. The kids, we couldn't really do it like that. So they were like in the kitchen being fed separately. And then we were at the sit-down table with my dad. And we were just catching up. I miss that stuff. I genuinely do. And I don't know how to incorporate it into my life. And I want to hear from all of you. What are the ideas? What are the things that you can do together? Shared meal is one thing. Pray. Some families pray together at night. There's so many versions of it. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
Okay, we're going to take your calls and your messages on the WhatsApp line. One says, I always say thank you to everyone around the table, whether at a restaurant or if I've cooked. My wife used to be puzzled, but I explained that breaking bread with another person is sacred and good. For family, it is us sharing secular communion, quality time. That's from Tulani and Santon. Hi, Relebogile. We set the dining table every day and eat together as a family in a 3-roomed, not bedroom, 3-roomed house in Orlando East. There were strict rules about supper time, cooking time, and lighting the fire time in an Ellis Deluxe stove. Yes! Routine was the name of the game in our house in the 60s and 80s. I guess it helped manage a family of 8. In my home now, it's all lost, no rules. That's from Sylvia in Bryanston. Sylvia, you're just reminding me about how for us, the routine was during the holidays, because all my cousin siblings and I were there, and maybe there would be like 10 or 12 of us, and then my grandmother would be the one cooking. Yes, there was a helper, but the helper was not allowed to clean up after us. We had to do that ourselves, and my grandmother cooked for us all 3 meals for the day. Anyway, so what would happen is it would be days, and then it would be they're bold. If you're wondering what is days, it's days of our lives, but we say days. It was days, and then it was they're bold. And then there would be that little in between where my grandmother would go to the kitchen and start dishing up. So she'd dish up for the little kids, and then if it's winter, somebody would be preparing the fireplace, because now we're doing the build up, because ikoba 7 Dailan, and then we're gonna go into generations. And then at some point we would all be in the kitchen sitting on the little stools as my grandmother fed us, and then she'd always put aside extra in case somebody's going to drop by. But we sat together, and that was what we did as cousin siblings. We had meals together. Then afterwards we'd have nights where the girls are in charge of cleaning up or the boys are in charge. That's how my grandmother did it. We'd take turns, and then it would be you could go and sit and watch Generations and chill. And then that was like quality. Guys, I miss my grandmother. But I miss those moments, and the lifestyle's not the same. Your voice notes are coming through on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. Tulani here in Santon. Regarding family time, I'll give you an answer on 3 levels. One is me and my wife. We don't have kids yet. Family time looks like us having dinner together every single night. Phones off, not taking calls, which is a bit difficult since we are both self-employed. On another level, when I'm with my wife's in-laws, being my parents, we sit around the table and eat and listen to music and talk. Most times the TV's off. And when I'm with my in-laws, her parents, pretty much the same. Every single evening, we sit around the dinner table and eat, just like on TV. Cheers.
Hi, Relebogile, Abraham in Florida here. Relebogile, for me, having family time just means that sitting around, it can be in the dining area, it can be in the sitting area. It doesn't really matter, right? It's just for the fact that we are sitting down and able to eat and talk while just catching up on the day that was, right? And that also taught me a lot of things in terms of just celebrating the little moments. You are able to celebrate better when it's just the two of you or just the immediate family without inviting people from outside. So even birthdays, I do the same thing. Even on Mother's Day, same thing. I don't compromise on just inviting people to our sacred space. Thank you, Abraham in Florida.
Well, if you had to ask me what we do, me and my family, when we have to spend time together, I would say we don't sit around in the table with the 4-bedroom or anything like that, anything nice. And we don't really have much of, dinner or supper together, like as a group. No, yeah, it's really scattered and it's really a mess. But we have something that we cherish, which is when we get together and we have to pray. We have like this schedule that we do in the morning, in the evening, and in the afternoon, whereby we pray together and we can just know what everybody's day was like, and that's how we spend time together. So
thank you so much for those voice notes. I remember being really inspired by something that I saw on the Kardashians of all places. But one thing that they do well in my books is they're very organized when it comes to family things. Irrespective of whether it's for TV or not, but Kris Jenner as the matriarch is very good at getting those setups going where they do things together as a family. Anyways, in this particular scene that I saw, which I recognize they do often, they've been doing it since they were kids, is you sit at the dinner table and then after you've eaten or before, they will say, what is your, I think they call it a high-low. So what is your high and what is your low of the day or of the week or of the year? So you'll say, my low of the day is that I got stuck in traffic and, my car got bumped and then I was irritated because the guy ran away. But my high of the day is that when I got home, my son was smiling. And it's just such a beautiful way that they're able to connect and share. And you're forced to think about not just like the negative things to dwell on, but also the positive things that are happening. We go to the lines. Fusi in Mayton. Hi, Fusi.
Afternoon, Relebogile.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, Relebogile, I grew up under my two parents in Kwakwa, and we never sat around the table to dine, even though we always eat together. So when it's breakfast time, we eat together. So you don't eat at your own chosen time, unless, for example, you were away and you just arrived after everybody has had their dinner or something of a sort. But now I'm 45 and I've been married for over 10 years. And my kids are in their teens. We make it an effort, and without fail, especially on birthdays, that is how we do it. And come dinner time, we even try to switch off the TV, make sure that the phones are away, and we find time to actually chat. When it comes to playing, we do the same. We make it an effort, and we just realize that my wife is the one who's mostly missing in action. And we used to complain until we realized that sometimes she's getting caught in setting the pot on the stove and so on. So we've had to find a way to help her to be available when we start to play. It could be football, it could be netball, we're skipping and so on. We make it an effort every week to do that.
You gave such a great idea there about like doing an outdoor activity like football or whatever the case may be. Aww.
I think it's worth trying, Relebogile. It really makes a difference because it's so busy out here and we really, really do not connect with our children.
Thank you so much, Fusi from Mayerton, for that call. More of your messages on the WhatsApp line. Menzi says, prayer time every evening. My mom did it with us for over 25 years of being home. Now I do it with my own family. That is beautiful. Another one says, hi, Relebogile. In my house, we're looking forward to Sundays because we sit around a well-decorated table, say grace, and have meals. And what I think is so important to remember is it's not about the dining room table. It's not about setting the dining room table. It's just, even if you are in a little apartment or look for a room and you decide you're going to sit on the floor with your plates in your laps, it's about doing something together and taking a moment to just put your phones down. When last did you do that?
Well, we don't do the dinner thing. We just sit on the sofas and eat whenever you feel like it. But one thing we do as a family is take evening, late afternoon walks.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So sometimes my boy will be riding his bike.
Yes.
And we'll be taking our walk, catching up on what happened during the day. So that's my... And since, what did you call it when you have multiple jobs?
Polyjobbing.
Yeah, so we haven't had that in the last month or so because things have been complicated. And when I go back home, my son is like, why aren't we taking walks? And I'm like, I'm so tired.
Gosh.
But I miss those quality moments and those walks. It's very important.
I mean, what's also kind of cute is, especially if like you've got a kid, is even just being in bed in pajamas, being like, let's have coffee in bed in pajamas and catch up. The one's jumping on the bed, the other one is doing this. But I think there are going to be such awesome ideas that come through. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. It's 1:30. Time for your latest in Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Slain journalist Olorato Mongale has been described as a hardworking individual who still had a lot to offer. Friends, family and colleagues have gathered at the Hamilton Hall in Bloemfontein this afternoon to celebrate her life. The body of the 30-year-old was found in Lombardy, north of Johannesburg, this week after she left her home to go on a date. The National Prosecuting Authority has reiterated the call for all South Africans to work together to protect children. The call comes at the back of a heavy sentence handed down in the Jocelyn Smith trial today. Jocelyn's mother, Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Paulus and Stefano van Rijn have been handed life sentences after being found guilty of kidnapping and human trafficking related to the child's disappearance. And some economists don't believe the awaited decision on the repo rate today will be cut and dry, with a mixed bag of data that could sway policymakers either way. The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee will wrap up its meeting on policy rates this afternoon. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, in Kempton Park, heading towards Pretoria, you can still expect about a 30-minute delay on the R21 northbound. That's between the R23 Benoni off-ramp and the R25 Paffontein exit due to a stationary vehicle. As a result, unfortunately, that alternative route, the R23, is also heavily backed up between the R21 and Pretoria Road. Selby leaving the Joburg CBD heading towards Rivoli. Traffic is a bit sluggish. This is on the M2 westbound between the Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. Otherwise, the rest of 702 land not looking too bad, particularly in the Pretoria area. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in the Groenkloof area at Christina de Wit and Euphius. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The succession battle of the Zulu kingdom is back in court again. The succession of kings is now a civil matter that is to be decided by the civil courts when it should be decided by the traditional courts. Indaba yobukhosi is being dealt with in a civil courts where people are addressing a judge as my lord, wearing black robes. There's something seriously wrong.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Take the next step in your professional development. Join the Wits Business School Open Day on Saturday, the 7th of June from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Explore their world-class postgraduate programs and executive short courses. Chat with faculty and alumni and discover how they transform lives and careers. Get all the information and inspiration you need to take your next step at the Wits Business School Open Day on the 7th of June. Visit wbs.ac.za/events to register now. Wits Business School, sculpting global leaders.
Hollywood Bets invites you to a drop of endless rewards and riches with Spinner Zonke prize drops. Gear up for exhilarating entertainment and a chance to win a share of a whopping 2.5 million rand in cash and prizes when you bet 2 rand or more on selected pragmatic play games every Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. Fortune favors the bold. So log in and play between 12:30 and 10:30 p.m. and you could spin into phenomenal prizes. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Every switch you flip, every circuit you connect, every idea you spark starts with power. So why not express it your way? At AC/DC Express, we've got solar power to keep you running, tools to get the job done, lighting to set the mood, and automation to take you to the next level. Whatever you need, big or small, we've got the power to supply it. With stores nationwide, expert advice, and the widest range of electrical solutions, AC/DC Express powers your world. AC/DC Express, everything electrical.
After a year of ABSA Home Loans sponsoring the masterclass, we have decided to gather in person to answer your burning questions about home ownership and the state of the housing industry in South Africa. So if you would like to join us at Prime Media Place in Sandton, that is next Wednesday, the 4th of June from 1 p.m., please send an email with your details to contact@702.co.za. The seats are limited. ABSA Home Loans and 702 definitely look forward to hosting you next Wednesday.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we are chatting about family quality time and what that might look like in your home. Is it shared sit-down meals? Is it prayer sessions? Is it walks? Is it vacations? Game nights? What does that look like? Asisi Po Burwana on X was sharing to say, do ordinary black South African families really sit dinner tables and to eat dinner? I've always been so fascinated by how we're depicted on TV sitting on these dinner tables in a four-roomed house. But I don't think it's, obviously the tweet is specifically around black families. I think it's interesting to see what all families do. When I was younger and part of a choir, die Noord Transvaal en dan die Noord Gauteng jeugkoor, when we would go and perform at different NG kerks, as one does, we would stay with host families in different places like Potchefstroom and a whole lot of other places. But what I did see consistently, a lot of the hosts, pretty much all of them were Afrikaans families. It was a sit-down situation. A meal was prepared, we'd say grace, and it felt like home. It felt like, I'm not even going to front, it felt like home. It had a home element to it. Not to say there weren't weird things that happened in between where your host parent would make a comment like, Libu, you are so nice, you're not like the others. Those things happen. But generally, Nehole sharp. Here are more of your voice notes on 0727021702.
Good afternoon. So my take on family time is I honestly feel that there is such a high value put to the concept of family time. For me, it's not about that quality time. I rather say it's about the quantity. So in anything, if you get in the car together, make that part of your family time. If you're watching a soccer game or a hockey game or a rugby game or whatever, make that part of your family time. I do think that we have got very, very busy lives, and because of that, having to get to sit at the table and have dinner together doesn't always happen. And instead of feeling like you are failing at it, rather incorporate other beautiful times as part of your family time.
Hey Labs, Tato here. Yeah, unfortunately, we have to be extremely intentional about time spent, especially with the little people and family. So once a week, we go out for dinner with the kids, just me and the kids. And then 3 times a week, I cook dinner, and either we sit at the table or we watch our favorite TV reruns that we've recorded. But the one thing I look forward to every single day, we have a family prayer group. So it's me, the kids, the in-laws, the aunts, the sister in Botswana, my sister in Atlanta, my brother in Mauritius. And we pray 7:30 every evening. We pray, we share testimonies, we share highlights and lowlights. 30 minutes of prayer with the family. We say our good nights and we wrap up the day. But you have to be very intentional about time spent.
Hi, really. For me, I will be cooking early in the morning before I go to church on Sunday. Every Sunday, I cook first before I go to church. When we're coming back from church, we will be sitting in the dining room table, eating. No one will touch the phone. I'm monitoring everything. And then after eating, then we play snake and ladder. After that, everyone has been released to do whatever you want. Thank you so much, Monica.
Hi, Relebogile. I hope you're well. My name is Melody, and when it comes to my family, music has always been that one integral part of how we connected together. And we would just pick this random song, sing together, whether one knows the lyrics or not, whether you know the song or not. We would just join together, play a part, and enjoy. ourselves. And I think it really helped us to connect to one another, because we would then end up laughing at Ugogo for not knowing the lyrics, but they are continuing to sing, Uncle for like just those silly things. But I think it really, really connected us together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of those voice notes. And I'm going to just close on a very real message here that says, I am tearing up listening to this conversation. Us, some domestic workers, we spend 4 to many months away from our family, and we miss those moments so much. And I think it's so important to keep that in mind. And I hope in your family moments, especially those of you that have live-in domestic workers, helpers, nannies, that they are included in the family things together. I really, really hope that is the case, because that's something that we don't necessarily think about or consider as a day-to-day, like being mindful of the fact that, this person is here looking after your kids and your family while they're away from their own family. And the last one says, afternoon, Relebogile. This is Ali Banks. I grew up in a Muslim family. For us, eating time, dinner or supper, especially supper, is very important that the whole family sits down in the same place. Father, mother, and all siblings, we have to be together and eat from the same plate. If it's pap, we have to dip in the same plate. That's how we could share our love. And I love that for you. And I hope that after this conversation, all of you are going to go back to your families with new game plans about how we're going to do the family quality thing together.
Volksfest deals are back. Get a free upgrade to the Polo Vivo Life when you buy a new Polo Vivo and pay 0% deposit. Get more features at no extra cost. Buy it now and only pay 3 months later. Offer valid only through Volkswagen Financial Services. Looking for something sportier? The stylish T-Cross is yours from just 399,900 Rand. These Volksfest deals won't last. Visit your nearest dealer today or visit vw.co.za.
Ah, Shane, do you have a sore throat? The Andalex range of lozenges offers 2 options. At the first signs of an irritated, scratchy throat, use Andalex lozenges for dual action, soothing relief. But for a painful, inflamed throat, use Andalex C lozenges for triple action, pain relief. Andalex, SA's #1 choice for a sore mouth and throat. Andalex lozenges are available at all leading pharmacies and supermarkets.
Just Andalex it. Cold weather is the perfect excuse to feed your bed addiction. Invest in a bed from Dial-A-Bed that boosts your health and keeps you snug, comfy and toasty. Choose from a selection of the world's best brands like the Sealy Celebration Queen Set, reduced to only 8,999, or the 40 Winks Active Zone Queen Set, reduced to 11,999. The best bed deals in SA, plus fast delivery. Dial-A-Bed. Sleep for life.
702.
Belief matters.
Exploring culture, traditions, religion,
and the beliefs that shape our world.
16 minutes to 2 o'clock, time for our Belief Matters feature. And today we are talking about your rights as an employee regarding religious holidays. So don't be confused like, hey, why is there a lawyer? Why is there a legal advisor coming in for Belief Matters feature? Because we are talking specifically around religious holidays. And I also think that this is such a significant conversation considering the one we had prior. But we take your questions on 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. And we're joined by Faith Mashapa, legal advisor at Strategy Labor Solutions. Faith, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Faith, I want to quickly ask you a question based on a conversation we all had together. But basically, post-Easter weekend, I asked a simple question, which was, is South Africa a secular state? Because my understanding is that it is. Yet, there are 2 Christian holidays that are observed that become public holidays, and what we think about that in relation to other religions. And many people gave their feedback, some saying, look, it might not be an official holiday, but I have Jewish or Muslim team members who the boss gives them off. And all of those types of things. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Many people contributed, some saying, actually, to keep things fair, there should be no religious holidays. People must go and negotiate their own things with their bosses, while others said, well, we are majority Christians, so it is fair. I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
So ultimately, it generally just depends on how the state decides to then issue the public holiday. So unfortunately, unless the president gives us an opportunity to all discuss which holidays, in terms of religious holidays, will be granted as an official public holiday, we just get to observe the calendar that has been provided to us by the president. So that's how the matter currently stands in terms of religious holidays and which ones are dictated to as an official public holiday.
Okay, so from in terms of being an employee and your rights regarding religious holidays, what is the current status with regards to religious holidays?
So in terms of our South African laws, it's very quiet in terms of whether or not anything regarding religious holidays. So there isn't a specific law that someone can turn to that dictates how a religious holiday is going to work for employees. However, this then means that if you're aware that you're having a religious holiday coming up, like Diwali, or you've got Ramadan, then you generally know in advance when those religious holidays are coming up, and then you have to then apply for leave in advance or follow your company's policy.
So one of the big questions I asked, hence I was saying, maybe there is a level of unfairness to the fact that there are allocated Christian holidays, is what that means for the type of leave you are taking out. So now, like you mentioned, that a person would apply in advance. Some environments are very corporate and very strict, where they might say you can choose to take it as annual leave or personal leave, whereas other environments are very chilled. You have bosses who actually sit and try and work something out with you, or say take all the time that you need, or they're willing to even shift working hours to accommodate people's beliefs. In terms then of what that means for your allocated leave days, where should certain things be allocated to? Because if a person comes and says, you know what, Faith, I go to my boss and I say, I actually don't observe Easter weekend. Can I rather come into work on those days and then rather save the 2 days I would have taken for when it is time for me to observe my religious holidays?
So there's a very specific thing that we then need to address. Because the Easter holidays are generally considered as public holidays, those holidays are granted to you in terms of your calendar. So those ones are generally, unless you're required to work on those days, they are your normal working days, then you can work on those days. However, if you're not generally required to work on those days, then you are required to take them as a public holiday, as you would observe perhaps a Freedom Day or a Women's Day. However, if you do have other religious holidays that you believe in and that you would like to observe, what you can do is perhaps speak to management and have an agreement in place where you can swap shifts with someone else who doesn't observe those holidays, and then you would then get that day off to observe your religious holiday, while that employee would then take that time to cover your shift. So ultimately, all of this would then be dictated to by the contract that you signed, and also the specific leave policy that is applicable in each business.
Okay, when it comes to, we're referring to religious holidays right now, but we live in such a diverse country with various cultural and spiritual belief systems. In terms of when we speak about religious holidays, from a legal perspective, what is included there? Can a person needing to go and perform a cultural ritual see that within that space? Is spirituality also considered in this category of what we're speaking about?
When you are going to apply for a leave for anything, you would then have to motivate the reason why you're going to do something like that. So if you are, for example, participating in a spiritual ritual or a traditional ritual, you would then need to state with sufficient particularity for the business to understand why you can't avail yourself to work on those particular days. But when we generally speak on religious holidays, we're then looking at the religious groups. So you would look at the Jewish holiday calendar, the Muslim calendar as well. We then have the Indians who would also have their own religious holidays that they would then need to observe. So that is generally what we then look at specifically when we're looking at religious holidays. That doesn't, however, preclude an employee from approaching their manager to discuss with them whether they can be accommodated.
I got you. So now let's say, hypothetically, an employee requests for leave for a religious holiday, and it could be one of the big, well-recognized ones or not so big, but this is declined, and the person really wants to take it. What options are available to them?
So if your leave is declined, then you would be provided with those reasons why your leave is declined. More often than not, your leave would be declined because the business needs require you to be available. However, you can't then just decide that I want to participate in this holiday, so therefore I'm going to go ahead and not come to work. Because if you do that, then you would be considered as being absent without authorization, and then the company would have the ability to then put you through any disciplinary action that is compliant with their disciplinary code and their policies. So if the company is then declining your leave for whatever reason, you are able to then just go ahead and speak to your management again to then try and address why your leave is being declined and to see if there are alternatives that you guys can look at together to try and make sure that everyone is accommodated.
Okay, and then just in terms of if there's any type of disciplinary action or dismissal that comes into play because a person went on unapproved leave, irrelevant of whether they were trying to take it from annual, but the fact that they did not get permission to do it, what is the recourse available?
So if an employee feels that the reason for their dismissal was unfair, right? So they took leave, they applied for leave, that leave was declined with reason, and then they decided, I'm still going to observe. The company then decides we're going to put this employee through the disciplinary process, and then they subsequently dismiss. There is recourse available for that employee in circumstances where they believe that dismissal was unfair, in that they can approach a CCMA or the respective bargaining council that is responsible for that particular industry. And then they would then have to follow that dispute resolution process that is available to them.
Okay, that makes complete sense just in terms of how you have shared and explained it all. If now we come back to some of the challenges within our labor law around religion, is there anything you're able to share with us before we open the lines on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072702? Because we do know that our legal system is constantly changing. Are there some issues that are currently, being looked at in regards to a leave for religious reasons?
So there is always developing case law that then tells us when we've got judges that are sitting and looking at matters and trying to determine how more inclusive we can be in terms of how we apply the law to allow that everyone feels accommodated and included therein. So it's always good, for at least for us as experts, to always have a look at the law in terms of what the judges are saying, and judges are very clear in terms of that, the fact that if the company has a specific policy in place, it's important for employees to follow those policies. But they're also clear in saying that when implementing policies, it is always a good idea to sit with your staff and engage in discussions with them to see how best you can make sure that your policy covers everyone. That's the thing that you need to be mindful of. So the law is ever changing, and we will see maybe one day we'll have more religious holidays being included as public holidays, but as it currently stands, that is still in the prerogative of legislation and the president.
All right, we're opening up the lines. We've got Larry from Lenasia. Larry, go ahead.
I mean, how are you? Once again, very good program.
Thank you.
I think your person you got is raising some valid points, right? But South Africa being a secular state, okay, firstly, let's take it from there. So we all can believe in what we want to believe, right? We do understand economic factors that might impact work site. where we all can't just get holidays the way we want to. But then the question comes in, right? Like Department of Labor would want certain health regulations and everything to be in place in your policies, right? Why can religious holidays not be taken into account there to cater for it, right? I'm not saying everybody will celebrate Eid. I'm not saying everybody will celebrate Deepavali. I'm not saying that, okay, or Kartike Deepam. But the point that we want to make is that how do we then encourage employees, state employees, private sector, to start having that in policies to say that, they should be lenient and sensitive towards that. That's my question to you, Relebogile.
All right, Faith?
So in these type of discussions, like I said, if we're going to be implementing a policy or we're drafting a revised policy, the best way for an employer to go about it is to sit with its staff, conduct research to find out what the best thing they can do to make sure that their staff is accommodated and well taken care of. So this shouldn't just feel like a unilateral decision by the company to say, this is what we want to do. Ultimately, the business wants to be able to run and make a profit as it has been established, but we also want to make sure that its employees are also happy and satisfied. And the only way we can ensure that everyone is satisfied is for us to sit and engage with each other and figure out the best way possible. It is also very true and important for us to note that at the end of the day, there are powers that be, and they would then need to make the decision that they feel is best for their business, taking into consideration their employees. And the obligation that exists on our employers is to make sure that when they're making these decisions, they are compliant with all the labor laws and South African laws that dictate to them what they can and cannot do. So there's nothing that prevents an employer from implementing a policy that specifically deals with other religious holidays that are not considered public holidays, and then to come up with a structure that works for them.
Faith, just in terms then of, companies, workplace, employers, what would you advise they can do to support religious diversity and, limit or just completely avoid discrimination just based on religious beliefs?
So the best way an employer can accommodate religious beliefs is to at least go about making available a room, a quiet place for them if they need to pray, encourage socials where we're teaching each other about our religious beliefs, so that everyone is then aware of why everyone does what they do. Unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know. So if we don't come together and we teach each other, then we don't know what to do. But it's also very possible for them to contact us at Strategy Labor Solutions, and we can assist them with drafting policies that then encourage inclusivity and limit discrimination. So the more you talk and the more you engage with your staff, the better knowledge you have and the better you're able to accommodate your staff. But it's always good to make sure that you have activities that allow for people to express and to follow their religious beliefs, given the fact that our Constitution allows us to practice the beliefs that we would like to.
And of course, Faith, nobody is obliged to disclose what their religious beliefs are either.
No one is allowed to. No one is obliged to, rather. You don't have to if you don't want to, and no one can force you to do so. It pretty much works exactly the same as your medical records. If you don't want to disclose the full extent of that, you're not required to disclose the full details.
Faith, thank you so much for your time on 702 Afternoons in our Belief Matters feature. We truly appreciate it. In the next hour of the show, it's our Consumer Rights feature with Wendy Nola Knows. Get your questions in early. It's 2:00.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Slain journalist Olorato Mongale has been described as a hard-working individual who still had a lot to offer. Friends, family and colleagues have gathered at the Hamilton Hall in Bloemfontein to celebrate her life this afternoon. The 30-year-old was found murdered in Lombardy, north of Joburg this week after her alleged killers lured her out of her home under the pretense of going on a date. Yesterday, police made a breakthrough when they arrested the owner of a VW Polo in KZN, believed to have been used in the crime. Officers have now launched a manhunt for 3 suspects believed to be connected to the murder. Mungezi Koko is in Bloemfontein.
Olorato Mongale's family says nothing could have prepared them for the grief they now carry, but the love and presence of those who knew her has brought moments of peace. She had moved to Gauteng to further her studies and pursue a career in journalism and was just weeks away from receiving her master's degree. A scripture from Psalm 34 was read aloud. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.
She was a light, a force, a joy to know, and an honor to love. We will deeply miss her. We will constantly hear her voice.
As her laughter, determination and gentle heart are remembered through song, tributes and tears, Mongale's loved ones say they won't rest until everyone responsible for her murder is brought to justice. Mungezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Bloemfontein.
The National Prosecuting Authority has reiterated its call for all South Africans to work together to protect children. The call comes at the back of a heavy sentence handed down in the Jocelyn Smith trial today. Jocelyn's mother, Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Paulus and Stefano van Ryn have been handed life sentences after being found guilty of kidnapping and human trafficking related to the child's disappearance. The NPA says the judgment is testament to its commitment to protecting the rights of children. Carlo Peterson reports.
Western Cape Director of Public Prosecutions Nicolette Bowell lamented the fact that during Child Protection Week, Jocelyn Smith is still missing despite her mother Kelly Smith, Jacqueline Paulus and Stefano van Ryn receiving life sentences today. Bowell urged the Saldanha Bay community to continue looking for the missing girl who disappeared from a middle post home in Saldanha in February last year. Jocelyn was 6 years old at the time.
Today's result is also a testimony of what happens if community, stakeholders, everybody work together as a collective. Then we have positive outcomes like this.
Bowell also lauded the community for playing an active role in getting its dignity back after Jocelyn disappeared. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News, Saldanha Bay.
We shift our focus to this now. Cabinet is satisfied with the outcomes of President Cyril Ramaphosa's working visit to the United States last week. It follows months of disinformation peddled against the country and President Donald Trump regularly claiming that bad things are happening in South Africa. Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, who was part of that delegation, says Cabinet agrees that the goals of the trip were met. She was briefing the media today to share the outcomes of the latest cabinet meeting. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
It's been a week since the world watched the South African government attempt to reset strained relations with the United States. Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says Cabinet believes the mission has been accomplished.
The SA and US teams will finalize the details of the trade deal between South Africa and the USA. It's safe to emphasize that the objectives that the SA team had set for the trip have been met.
Ntshavheni says following last week's visit, Cabinet also expects the US to resume its participation in the G20. Recently, US officials withdrew from working group meetings, and earlier this year, the US Treasury Secretary and Secretary of State both boycotted respective ministerial meetings.
Cabinet looks forward of President Trump to the G20 Leaders Summit.
Cabinet has announced the Nasrec Expo Centre in Johannesburg as the venue for the G20 Leaders Summit in November. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And some economists don't believe the decision on the repo rate today will be cut and dry, with a mixed bag of data which could sway policymakers either way. The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee will wrap up its meeting on policy rates this afternoon. South African consumers are hoping for some reprieve on the interest rates, which have remained elevated. Nokukhanya Mtambo has the details.
The repo rate currently sits at 7.5% and prime lending at 11%.
2%. In March, the central bank paused the cutting rate cycle for the first time after 3 consecutive cuts. US President Donald Trump's global trade war and the unprecedented budget mayhem are among factors that have previously weighed on the MPC's decision. On the upside, inflation remains below the midpoint of the Reserve Bank's 3 to 6% target band, and the rand remains stronger than it's been in months. The majority of economists polled by Reuters have predicted a 25 basis point cut in the May meeting, with the central bank then expected to keep rates constant until November. While some economists believe there is room to cut rates, 9 of the 25 economists surveyed by Reuters believe consumers should also brace for another pause. Nogukhanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News.
Gold is trading at $3,276.54 an ounce. The rand is at 17.93 to the dollar, 24.12 to the pound, 20.19 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.90 a barrel.
Well, at this stage in Germiston, heading towards Katlehong, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N3 southbound. That's between Heidelberg Road and Leondale Road, while in Chirina, traveling towards Devlin, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Golden Highway. That's opposite the Joburg Correctional Services. And we still have traffic lights not working in Alex at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 22 degrees. The top story in EWN, slain journalist Olorato Mongale has been described as a hard-working individual who still had a lot to offer.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. 702.
We're listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Eight minutes after 2 o'clock. It's the second and final hour of 702 afternoons, and it's a Thursday, so you know what that means. Wendy Nola is in the building. We have some good news, we have some feedback, and other things we're going to talk about, and then we'll open up the lines to all of you for all of your consumer-related issues. Get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Nola knows.
Nola Knows time with Wendy Nola, our consumer rights ninja. Or should I say Bruce Lee? I'll tell you where that comes from. In a moment, we take your calls. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Bruce Lee, how are you doing?
That was a new one. Hi, Relebogile. Yes, that was a lovely story. You go. You start telling that story.
All right, let me start telling the story. So 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
3 weeks, the first call came.
Okay, we got a call from one of our listeners, Julie, and she shared the story of how she is an e-hailing driver, and they hijacked her car, and they were able to with her in it, they basically dumped her somewhere far away. She had to walk barefoot. She got to a police station, and thank goodness for her tracking company that there was a second tracker. They were able to recover the car. But now, of course, it's damaged. Fast forward, she is struggling to get her car back from being repaired because there are no parts. There are no parts available, and this goes on for months. Not only are there no parts available, but also there is a challenge with communication with the insurance company and some confusion around the vehicle manufacturers, who in this case are Toyota and Auto in General. Months go by, so 8 months. Julie calls us to say, it's not just about not having the car, which was almost brand new. It's about the fact that was my income. So come in, Wendy Nola. We took on the case. Wendy gave us feedback to share what had happened and what they had committed to. So the last conversation we had was that there is a commitment that this whole thing will get sorted out. And in between that story, she had even been begging them to write the car off so she can get the money and sort herself out. So enter Wendy Nola.
Right.
And the last time we spoke was, okay, they're committing that they're going to make things right. So what happened, Wendy?
Yeah. So they committed to, as we reported back, to writing off the car. Just I can't resist the detail here. With a write-off, it's not about the extent of the damage, it's about a financial thing. So write-off is an insurance term, and it means the percentage varies slightly, but let's say if the cost of the repairs is more than 70% of the value of the car, then they won't, then they will write it off. Otherwise, they will repair it, right? But this was an almost 6-week-old Toyota Starlet Cross that had, so there was too much value in the car to write off. There was no ways that the repairs were going to be more than 70% of the 300 and something thousand rand, right? So, but that's why they didn't want to write it off. But we took up the case. They said this is an income earning car. It's been more than 7 months. And so they said, right, well, they gave her some choices, but she went for write the car off. I'd like a new car. And then earlier this week, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, she started WhatsApping us these delightful images. She's actually made these boards up. One said thanking Relebogile and a picture of her, and one thanking me. And she'd prop them up in the dealership against the car with all the ribbons and all the lovely celebratory stuff. She'd prop these 2 boards up, took some videos and pics and sent them to us, and then a lovely voice note, which was so appreciated. So let's play that if we can.
I would like to send my appreciation to you, Wendy Nola, my Bruce Lee, and Relebogile on 702 for fighting for me when I almost gave up. This got me so emotional that I'm so happy that I made this call that actually got me rescued. Please carry on doing the best work ever. The people need you. May God bless you and bless the work that you are doing. More wins to you. Cheers, Wendy Nola. Cheers, Bruce Lee. Thank you so much.
Bruce Lee. Wendy. And I mean, listen, I know she's thanking me, but I literally am sort of like a middleman facilitator because I'm the one who takes the calls. And of course, Wendy, a big thank you for the work that you're doing. I know that you are so fully inundated with requests and we don't always get it right. And I say we because I'm constantly sending things in your direction to solve. But this absolutely made my week, receiving the pictures. I am going to post them on my social media so that everybody can see. And of course, thank you to all the listeners because without you, these things are not possible. Wendy, are you proud of yourself?
I am, and I'm particularly, touched by the lengths she went to make us know how much she appreciated it. I don't expect it. My win is in the work itself. I don't need the validation or the rah, you're fantastic. I really don't. It's a bonus, but it was really, really touching how much it meant to her. So really, really. Satisfying to get that result for her. And so deserving. She'd really been through hell.
So just in terms of how we close off that story, what is the biggest takeout with this whole situation? I mean, we touched on it over the past 2 weeks that, if your car is stolen, what might be a good thing to do, what to ask of your tracking company, because you can have a second tracker because that's a good way to deter the people. And also we touched on the fact that it is a thing that hijackers will do, which is make it take you very long to get to help. Is there anything else we want to share with the listeners?
I think the most important thing I want to share, and we shared it before, but I'm really going strong on this message on all my platforms, and that is you need to find out from your insurer, especially if you've had your car for a little while. Maybe when you took out the policy, it wasn't considered very high risk in terms of theft and hijacking. But Gauteng area is the hot spot, followed by KZN for hijacking and theft. So get a hold of your broker or your insurer directly and find out. Many of them have been sending out in the last year or so updates saying you now need this level of tracker or this particular, and this one with a backup one, the single one that is no longer necessary, no longer adequate rather. And if you missed those, we don't look at our SMSs, or we missed the email or whatever, they would have just cut theft and hijacking out of your cover, which is what I've had a few cases of that and where I wasn't able to help. So you need to make sure that you are, not that you've just got any old tracking device, but you need to make sure that it's the one that your insurer has mandated as being what they will accept and what will ensure that your claim succeeds. Because insurance is a grudge purchase anyway. You don't want to be paying your premiums every month, and then when your car is stolen, or let me not say when, if your car is stolen or hijacked, you then find out you're not covered, because that can set you back financially for a very long time. I have a case where a guy's actually busy having to put his house on the market because he had a new Toyota Corolla Cross, and they said when he joined this insurer, they said, "Do you have a tracker?" He said, "Yes." I mustn't say tracker, that's a brand. A tracking device, he said, yes.
Yes, I'm
what
glad
he meant
you said.
was, remember, people use that term as a general term for tracking devices. And he said, yes, but it came factory fitted, right? A lot of manufacturers are now including, for the South African market, they will, especially cars made here, they will have a tracking device factory fitted. But, and we tracked through the car's systems, but your insurers won't necessarily consider that, it's quite a base level of tracking. They may not consider that adequate. So you need to have an external, bottom line is make that call, find out, make sure that you are complying so that you are not in danger of submitting a claim and having it rejected because, oh, sorry, we told you needed this and you didn't have that, so sorry for you, no claim. It happens, and it happens a lot. So I'm really, really passionate about making people understand, especially in Gauteng, that you need to be doubly sure that you have the necessary kit in your car, that if your car does get stolen or hijacked, you will be covered.
Thank you so much. And I love a story that has a fantastic ending. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we continue with Wendy Nola.
You're on with Philip. Go.
G'day, Philip. This is Steve.
Smart Steve from Momentum, eh?
Indeed. And do you know what's even smarter? Momentum has introduced new tech that's smarter than your smartphone.
Smarter than my smartphone. I doubt it, Steve.
Truce, Bob, it scans your heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen, and stress levels.
Wow. Can it make you a coffee, eh?
Well, not yet, but it can save you up to 35% on your monthly life insurance premiums.
Jeez, 35%? That sounds like a deal.
Just check with your financial advisor about Momentum Life Returns. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra's Winter Symphony season is sure to warm the hearts of music lovers during the chilly winter months. Concerts take place at the Linda Auditorium on Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. from the 5th to the 26th of June. Season and single tickets now available. Visit jpo.co.za.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
702 and Absa Home Loans are bringing to light the property ownership matters you want to know about. Here's what we discussed.
I would imagine rent to own means that whatever you're paying in renting is somehow contributing to ownership.
That is correct. A rent-to-own agreement is a hybrid agreement or a hybrid model where you basically have a lease agreement. Tenant's going to rent the property for a set period of time, and over and above the rental, there's an option fee, and that gets paid each month because then the tenant is entitled to an option to purchase the property. So you're not only paying your rental, but you're also paying towards a deposit towards the property.
The Masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Absa Home Loans on 702. T's and C's apply. Absa is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. NCR CP7.
702.
Nola knows.
21 minutes after 2 o'clock, we continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows, with Wendy Nola. All right, we are going to open up the lines at some point. 011 883 702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 702. So, Wendy, let's talk about these recycled numbers and things.
Yes, it's quite a fascinating issue, well, I think so anyway, because so there are only a very limited number of virgin cell phone numbers being issued these days. So you acquire a new number for whatever reason, there's a very good chance that somebody had it before you, that it's not brand new. There are a few. ICASA, which is the Independent Communication Authority of South Africa, they control these number issuings, and they require the networks, because of the shortage of numbers, they require networks after what they call a period of inactivity,
yes,
to basically take your number away from you and recycle it. So while you do have a chance of getting a new number, you've got a bigger chance of getting a recycled one. MTN told me, incidentally, that this year they started issuing, I think it's 0689, that series. But mostly they're recycled, right? And there are two ways of that people lose their numbers and then they get recycled. Number one, the network actually confiscates it from you, and I get a lot of complaints about this because you fail to spend on the network. So now people think they're using their phone, they're sending WhatsApps, they're doing, stuff over Wi-Fi, but that's not considered to be activity by the network. They want you to do what they call RGE, revenue generating events, which to you and me is a network call.
Oh my gosh, sorry. The reason I'm saying
or an SMS
is because so that happened to me where we had a number for my show. Now, keep in mind, it would be advertised on TV and everything. Now, that show was being used specifically for the WhatsApp line. One day, we log on to the phone and the number's gone.
Yes.
So we're
That's
like,
why.
it just was like, if you are using this, and it was so confusing because the team was using the phone in a Wi-Fi area. So then the network provider, and I can't even recall who it was, said, unfortunately, the number's gone, but you need to top up the airtime or top up SMSs or data, something so it shows. But I didn't know that it's called RGE. Or
it's a revenue-generated event. So sending an SMS, not a WhatsApp, or buying data, buying airtime, and making actual calls, right? So yeah, and in MTN's case, after 90 days, they send you a warning saying you must spend, which if they send it via SMS, you probably miss it. And with Vodacom, it's 110 days. And these actually so-called inactivity periods at the moment, they're looking at a revision period. The stakeholders have submitted their feelings about the issue. So that could change. But at the moment, it's mostly after 90 days. So let's call it 3 months, where you'll get a, hey, use it or lose it kind of notification. And with Vodacom, it's slightly longer. It used to be even longer, but they're currently working on 110 days. Okay, so many people use their phones in different ways, like you with the show, and you're not necessarily making calls and buying airtime, etc. They lose their numbers like that, goes into the pot, gets recycled. We don't have to worry about those so much. The worrisome one is when people choose to let go of that number. In some cases, they're fraudsters who are just dropping it, right? Because they don't want the people they scam to get hold of them. or it's because people are getting too many calls from their credit providers and their debt collectors. That's a very common one. So now you unwittingly go along, get your new number for whatever reason, fine, lovely, and then you start getting the debt collecting calls, right? So then you like, well, it's not me, but it's not that easy. They're not going to just say, oh, okay, we won't phone anymore. So the case study I have is that of Craig. He was issued an 073 number by MTN. And that one definitely had a bit of a dodgy past, because he wrote to me to say, I started being hounded by calls and text messages from companies including Capitec, Ackermans and Woolworths, saying that my accounts were in arrears. Turns out they were all looking for the previous owner of my MTN number. So yeah, you'd think that you would just say, look, this is my ID number. You could see it doesn't match with the person that you're trying to trace. You know, they gave up the number. It's now my number. You know, please stop contacting me. You know, I'm not the person you're after. I do not owe you money. It doesn't work like that. Craig says they need the ID number of the previous owner, which I obviously do not have. What am I supposed to do? I'm not enjoying my phone. So I took up the issue with MTN, and they began by saying, yes, we fully understand Craig's frustration. Numbers are dynamically assigned from available pools, meaning we don't know exactly where they're coming from. It's like a random thing. It's not technically possible to identify recycled numbers at the point of assignment, which was quite strange because Craig was told that his number was recycled. He didn't realize what the implications could be. And then I think he obviously said, well, can I not have a new number? And he was told, no, they're all recycled, which isn't strictly true, not in MTN's case anyway. They are issuing some new numbers. But anyway, so he says to me, so MTN says, we don't have sight or control, obviously, of the databases by third-party companies, banks, retailers, and their debt collectors. Listen to this. The responsibility for updating contact details lies with a third party concerned. But somebody who has got rid of their cell phone number to avoid those calls is really not going to be bothering themselves with any updating. That's the last thing they want to do. They got rid of their number for a reason. So I said, okay, so I knew the answer, but I asked anyway, why don't you, as MTN, then give the new owners of that recycled number the ID number of the previous owner that they're now getting the calls for, so that they can actually enjoy their new number without the harassment for a debt that isn't theirs? And the answer is, of course, the privacy of those debt-dodging cell phone number droppers has to be protected. MTN is bound by the POPI Act, which prohibits them from disclosing any personal details of a previous number holder without their consent. It would be unlawful for them to do so. So MTN says, well, we recognize the inconvenience this causes. We must prioritize compliance with data privacy laws, blah, blah, blah. So bottom line, Craig is stuck with those intrusive calls demanding that he makes payments for debts that aren't his, unless he also drops his number, passes the problem on to another unsuspecting subscriber. It really is quite a ridiculous and unfortunate situation, but that's the reality of where we sit with these cell phone numbers today.
And I know that
unless you're lucky enough to get a brand new one.
Yes, and I know that that's not a unique situation because of a lady I've been following who's been sort of saying she got a new phone, got a new number, and there's a story unfolding. So first it was people messaging, looking for this person, and then this person's worried. Then an uncle called saying people are looking for you. Then it was debt collectors, but she had been updating people on TikTok as a story time saying, she's learning so much about the life of the previous owner of the phone. And now she's like sucked in because she's calling uncles. She's calling relatives because she's like, okay, it could be because of the dead, but maybe there's something more going on. So I know that's not a unique one. And those of you who want to share your stories of things that have happened because you lost a number and it got recycled, like the ones that Wendy Nola was sharing, 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. We continue when we come back. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Very good afternoon. Retired Constitutional Court Justice Sisi Gampepe will chair an inquiry into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That inquiry, which has been established by President Cyril Ramaphosa, will be looking into prosecution delays in TRC cases. It will probe whether there were attempts to prevent the investigation or prosecution of apartheid-era crimes referred by the TRC to the National Prosecuting Authority. Government has applauded the hefty sentences handed down by the Western Cape High Court today to the accused in the Jocelyn Smith kidnapping and human trafficking case. The missing child's mother, Kelly Smith, and her accomplices, Jaquina Paulus and Stefana van Rijn, were all found guilty of selling her for money and have been sentenced to life in prison. But the child's whereabouts remain unknown. And slain journalist Lorato Mongale has been described as a hard-working individual who still had a lot to offer. Her friends, family and colleagues have gathered at the Hamilton Hall in Bloemfontein to celebrate her life this afternoon. The 30-year-old was found murdered in Lombardy East in the north of Johannesburg this week. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're in the Naturina area heading towards Devlin, slow-moving traffic on the Golden Highway opposite the Joburg Correctional Services. Also in Durban Deep, Roodepoort, slow-moving traffic on Randfontein Road. This is between Miles Stocker and Caller Drive. There's also slow-moving traffic if you're heading into Leondale. That's the N3 southbound between Heidelberg Road and Leondale Road. Also slow-moving traffic if you are in the Irene area. This is approaching the intersection of Namepiers Drive and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic. Mvangeli Nzuza will have your next Eyewitness News traffic update just after 3.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Every time we're on the radio, we're not just talking.
We're turning words into actions. Actions that change communities.
Actions that make a difference.
And every time you tune into 702, you're not just listening to the radio.
You're in conversation with us.
And your voice matters. You're on a journey with us, and every step we take counts.
It's these steps that not only help us grow as individuals,
but also bring us together as a society through the good times and the bad.
Every step gets us closer to the South Africa we want to be.
So, keep walking with 702.
And let's make this a journey to remember.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Legendary spins lead to striking wins in the Hollywood Bets exclusive Spinner Zonke Tournament of Champions. Take dominance in the arena of big wins and power your spins with 3 rand or more on selected slots. Conquer the leaderboard for a chance to win a share of 500,000 rand in cash. Spinner to electrifying games that bring you closer to colossal wins. Bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bets supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Remember when we were rocking just one bike, dreaming big for our delivery business? Those days. Now we're here with a whole fleet of vans and trucks. That's why it's important to have the right partner in your corner. Of course, we owe to My Way Business Insurance. They've been our go-to for comprehensive cover, protecting our fleet while we deliver excellence. Talk about going from pedal power to horsepower.
Move your business to MyWay and get cover for your vans and trucks. Visit myway.co.za for a quote and do business your way. MyWay is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply.
Coming up on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastically.
Yes. There we go.
I've been practicing. I need to improve my English. I've been told, yes. So what's coming? Your face.
Told by who?
Oh, wait. The new one that I got told yesterday was that I must stop trying to speak like a white person and use my natural black voice. And I don't think people realize that talk radio, you can't fake your way through a radio show with a...
Not for 2 hours.
You can't.
5 days a week.
You cannot.
11 months a year.
Yes.
No.
So I'm taking the feedback with the necessary Himalayan salt it deserves. What's coming up on your show today?
Maybe a shot of, that thing you have with salt on the side. Yeah, I'll bring the lemon.
Thank you.
So coming up on the show, it's a day of a lot of sadness. There's the funeral of Olorato Mongale, but also the terrible revelation that the men who are being sought for the crime were actually out on bail on a similar charge. We're going to have an extensive conversation about the ins and outs of bail, and we'll do that after 5 o'clock. And then, of course, I suppose water under the bridge to an extent, in the sense that the trial has been concluded, the matter involving Jocelyn Smith. But we're going to talk to Carlo Peterson, who's done great coverage of this over many, many months, and spend some time just talking to him about what's the mood in the community. Is there a sense of satisfaction or a sense of abiding sadness because none of the people who are now going to jail have been willing to share any information about what happened to the little girl? So Carlo with us at about 25 minutes past 3. Every Thursday, Relebogile at around 10 to 5, we do something about houses, and we can look at fires in the home and insurance.
Yep.
It's a thing that people actually tend to discover after they've had an accident. So we're going to speak to somebody who's expert in that and give us some really good advice. And then we're going to ask this question, prompted by a fabulous post on X, which I'll share a little bit later. No, on Facebook, which I'll share a little bit later. But where do you get seated at big events? Like, where's your table? Particularly family events, like if they've decided a little bit, okay, well, you're this person or that person, maybe you're a single. There are all sorts of things that kind of determine what seat you get and with whom. And I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say about that.
I cannot wait to hear that. But what I can tell you is that at my cousin's wedding many, many years ago, on the tables were named different things. So it wasn't numbering. And the table that I was at, she put all the non-married cousins together.
Yes.
And we were the fun table. We were loud, rowdy, and truly fun. But I do know there are people who found themselves at like the children's table.
Yes.
Because they're single and alone.
And when everything's settled, if people are sidling over to your table, and thinking, well, okay, they seem to be having more fun than I've had so far.
Yep.
So bring an extra chair.
Okay, looking forward to
seat.
to that one, 702 Drive with John Perlman from 3 to 6 p.m. And don't forget, everybody, Absa Home Loans has been sponsoring the masterclass. We are getting together in person. I'm not saying there'll be a prize, but we've been giving away 5,000 Rand cash for a while now. And this is your opportunity to get to come to Prime Media, to hang out with us, to meet the team at Absa Home Loans, and to ask your questions in person. Of course, we'll be broadcasting to everybody that can't join us, but if you want to be a part of it, contact at 702.co.za, contact at 702.co.za. The seats are limited. It's for Wednesday, the 4th of June. That is next week at 1 p.m.
702.
Nola knows.
Nola knows with Wendy Nola. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. And we're going to jump straight to all of the calls that are flooding in. There are many of you. Please try your best to get straight to the point. Number one and number two, a reminder to just be mindful about naming companies' names. So you can keep it neutral by saying the insurance company or the dealership, whatever it may be, or the network. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Gardner in Midrand, go ahead. You've got a recycled number situation. Talk about it. What's up?
Really? How are you?
Good, and you?
Very well, thank you. Okay, let me just get straight to the point. Number one, I only discovered now that this number is recycled because for the past maybe 4 years, I've been getting phone calls from different companies looking for this specific one person. And at first I was like, no, it's a wrong number. But then when I started applying for credit, that's where I saw it, because the questions that they keep on asking me, all of them, all these different banks when I apply for credit, it pops up. The address, I can see which properties do they own, where do they work and all that. I keep on saying, that's not me, that's not me, that's not me. And I thought maybe that was just a general question to see if they're speaking with the right person or something. But it happened again when I was applying for the credit again. And for the third time, and for the fourth time, I'm like, okay, I see. Now, just a quick word, right? I want to understand, in such situations, where do we report this? Because I remember there was this news policy that if a number is not utilized for more than 40 days or something, they recycle it and then they give it to someone else. But yeah, it's a whole mess because now it's turning out to be people we not. The account they are a phone nailer, and we now have to explain that it's not me, guys. I don't know that person. I don't know them. You know, it's just crazy. So I just need help. Where do we report this? How do we fix it?
Good question. Wendy?
Well, according to Stephen's case experience, when he pushed back against these companies, the bank and the two retailers, he said, I want this to stop. I've just acquired this number. I'm not the person you're looking for. They said, well, then you need to give us the ID of the person that you're looking for, which, I mean, they obviously have it. You'd think he would just be able to give his ID number and they could see it's not the same person, but I suppose anyone could just cite any number, some random number. Anyway, but they won't, the networks won't give it to you. So I'm saying there will be cases, I think, if you, not all companies are going to have the same policies around this issue. So I would say push back hard and say, look, I can show you when I acquired the number. This is logical. Yeah, this is when I took out the contract. And this is my ID. I am not the person you were looking for. For me, that should be enough proof. And if they're not accepting it because they're lazy, basically, then I would just drop the number. But, you know, there's so many aspects to this. I had a complaint once from a woman whose child turned 13 and she got this child, her new teen, their first cell phone number. They've kept this child waiting until they were 13. And this child now, or maybe it was a bit younger, maybe it was 11 or 12, I forget, but it was a young girl. And she's suddenly getting adult content that the sender was meaning for the person that had given up the number.
Oh, no.
And another case, someone I know, family WhatsApp group, and this person gets added, this name that nobody recognizes, but they're all too polite to say, who the hell is this, right? Because the administrator was her sister adding numbers, whatever. And this person commented here and there, the odd emoji and whatever, and eventually it came to light. Nobody knew who he was. The sister thought it was her nephew's number. But the nephew had given up the number. So this person, like that caller you mentioned,
chilling in the WhatsApp group,
reading other people's family WhatsApp group. Yeah, I mean, and we're going to see more and more of this as the numbers eventually, that the virgin numbers, as I call them, it's not an industry term, or maybe it's my term, they will eventually, peter out completely. And now you're only left with the recycle, the ones that have got a past before they came to you. And in many cases, it's going to be a past that you want nothing to do with. And it's the reason why the person let that number go. I must tell you, because my number, I've had the same number for years and years and years, and it's obviously not put on public platforms if I can help it, because I can't cope with the emails I get, let alone people calling me all day long. But every now and then when it gets bad and people are just jumping into my WhatsApps and just phoning and from shops and say, I got your number from whatever. Sometimes it's companies I do business with, employees, give my number out. And I'm like, actually, this is it. I'm giving up my number. But now I'm thinking maybe better the devil you know with your number than if I could acquire one of these horrible recycled ones, and then I'm dealing with all sorts of other things I'd rather not. So yeah, it is very tricky business, these secondhand numbers, or third or fourth.
Thank you so much for that call, Gardner. Let's go to Lunga from Durban. Go ahead, Lunga.
Hi, ma'am. Lunga Mkunu. So a quick short story is that in Jan I bought a vehicle from Auction Operation online. They advertised it as having papers. So, but past 5 months, I identified that they told me it's a stolen car. So the issue here is that they had to do all these SEPS clearances and whatever. But for 5 months, sending emails, they're not responding. So my query now is selling a stolen product, is that allowed? if there's this transfer of ownership, because obviously they need to reduce this flag that's appearing on SAPS as a stolen and recovered car. So I just wanted to contact Wendy Nola, the Mike Tyson of consumer rights, and find out what are my
Mike Tyson!
what must
I
do.
love it, Lunga.
But the problem is
I need a
I've been doing
mail.
business with auction operation for a long time, so I like this company. Just that this one issue is obviously I've spent money on a car and they can't resolve it for 5 months. So it's quite sad that I have to now try other routes. But I just wanted to find out, do I have a leg to stand on? Is there anything? Yeah, but thanks.
Okay, Longo, I presume you're wanting to give the car back and get what you paid for it as a refund. Is that what you're wanting at this point?
I wanted to know whether can they solve the thing, maybe give me the car. Is there an issue? Maybe are there different parts now? Are the VIN numbers not corresponding?
Okay.
'Cause if possible, I could get the car. I would get it. I've been giving them time for them to clear it at SAPS, but for 5 months they're struggling or it's not getting resolved. So
all right.
If they can give me the car, it's fine. If they can't, can I get a refund? So that's can I get a refund if I bought something online? They did not specify that there's no papers, or because usually if there's no papers, they clearly state online.
So that was my main question. Is it's an issue of disclosure. So when you saw this car, did they declare that it's stolen and recovered?
It did not
only
declare on
after
the
you
online
paid?
app. So it's auction operation company. So sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm saying then definitely I would. And so you've paid 5 months ago, but you don't have the car because of this clearance
I paid
issue.
in January.
No.
Yes.
No. Take the car. You haven't got the car. Get a full refund plus interest, because there was a lack of disclosure. You would never have bid if you knew that there were these hassles which would have prevented you from getting the car for 5, 6, 7, whatever months. That is ridiculous. And if you need my help, just email me with all the details and I'll do my best.
Stay on the line, Lunga. Our producer will give you all of the details. Paul and Vincent, I see you. Thank you for waiting so patiently. We need to take a break.
Andile here with more than just a betting app ad. Download the 10Bet app and enjoy the action of betting anytime, anywhere. It's more than just an app. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Just like your last breakup, commitment is messy. Leave the chaos behind and find something new to hold on to with Rentosa. Discover subscriptions on tech, appliances, and more that will make your heart go bum, bum, bum. No red flags here, only green flags like month-to-month payments, 0 penalty fees, and the flexibility to upgrade or downgrade whenever. Not feeling the connection? No ghosting needed. Simply return it for something new that'll give you that spark you're looking for. Commitment is messy. Just Rentosa it. Download the app, visit the website, and join our WhatsApp channel.
702.
Nola knows.
12 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows. The lines are open for your consumer rights issues. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Vincent from Tembisa, go ahead. Wendy's listening.
Yes, Wendy Lola and Relebogile, how are you?
Go ahead, Vincent.
Good, Vincent. Go ahead.
Yes, I've got an issue here. Then I've got this insurance company that I insured my car with. Then I was involved in an accident. Then good enough, then I paid an excess of 10,000. Then all of a sudden, then when they're just about to pay me back, and they're not willing to pay me back. They said they're waiting for the third party to pay, and the third party said they're gonna pay. She's gonna pay whatever 300 at the end of every month. Then they said no, they can't give me that 10,000 my access fee. Is that fair? And in the policy that I have, it's not even the policy that I have with my insurance.
Okay, so let me make sure I've got this right, Vincent. They've settled your claim. You had to pay an excess of 10,000 Rand, and you're objecting to that. Okay, so this is normal.
I paid an excess of 10,000. I was at fault. Somebody bumped my car. Then I paid that excess. They fixed my car. Then they have to reimburse me the 10,000. And they said no. They are waiting for this person who bumped my car to pay that 10,000. And the person who bumped my car said, no, he cannot afford to pay that 10,000. He will afford to pay 300 at the end of every month. And I called them and they said, no, the money is 1,300 at the moment. They're still waiting for it to be 10,000 so that they can reimburse me.
Okay. So you are required to pay that excess amount in terms of your insurance contract, whether the insurance company is able to recover any funds from the other party that crashed into you or not. And usually it would be their fault. That's why they would go after them. If they do manage to, in many cases, they will then, it can take up to 6 months, and then you then get what you paid as an excess amount back as a refund. But it's not a guarantee. You have to pay it whether or not the insurance company is able to recover the funds or not. If they're not able to recover the funds, then you're not entitled to it back. And that process is out of your hands. So you have to consider when you're taking out insurance that you have to sort of budget for having to pay the excess fee in full. Obviously, if it's your fault, you're not going to get anything. There's no ways your insurance company is going to be able to recover anything from the other party. But if they do, you'll get it back. But it's not a guarantee because you don't know what circumstances the other person is in. So, long and short, Vincent, you don't really have a leg to stand on to demand that 10,000 rand back. You have a right to hope that it happens, but if it doesn't, you don't have a legitimate complaint in that regard. I hope I made sense.
So sorry about that, Vincent, and I really, really hope that it's able to come through for you. Paul from Western area, go ahead.
Hi, Relebogile. Hi, Wendy.
Hi.
Someone damaged my car in an accident on 9th March. We went through the accident report together, myself and the lady. And after submitting my claim as a third party with her insurance, I subsequently got an email from her insurance company saying that she had instructed them not to honor my claim. So I wanted to find out from Wendy if there is anything I can do. Is there any recourse for me in this case?
Okay. Were you also driving at the time, or was your car stationary or parked when she crashed into you?
I was.
You were driving. Okay. So usually what happens is, even if the other party was, like, to most reasonable people, obviously at fault for skipping a traffic light or proceeding in some kind of dangerous way, they will hold you responsible. They're mainly responsible, but they will so-called apportion some blame to you for not keeping a proper lookout and taking evasive action. So that's often like a 6-70-30 split or a 60-40 split. And then they only cover, say, 70% or 60% of your damages, and you have to pay the 40% of theirs, and often you end up with nothing or a very small amount. I've got a case this week. It was 100,000 rand repair bill, and the other party's insurer is only paying out 26,000, so like a quarter. And that is why I say third party claims. Did you have to do the third party claim because you have no insurance, or just because you thought, I don't want to claim on my policy?
No, I don't have insurance on my own.
Okay. I haven't heard of a case where the other insured would say, do not honor the claim. You still have a claim against her, whether she wants. So her insurance company, part of her policy, what she pays is protection against you going after her directly for the money, right? In a civil matter. So if you lodge a claim with her insurer and you clearly feel that she was to blame, if not totally, then mostly. Is that the case? Hello?
Sorry, that is air on our side, Paul.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Apologies. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes. She is to be blamed because she hit me from the back, and I can say.
Okay.
I can say she was intoxicated at the time of the accident.
Okay, well, that's quite a strong case for you. No, push it. And if they still won't, I mean, it's not up for her. It's not up to her to say. I mean, wouldn't even be her money. She's paying part of her premium so that her insurance will pay you out. You're not going to get the full amount because of that blame apportionment, but I don't think they could apportion much, if any, blame to you because were you stationary in the car at the time?
No, I was driving. I was actually on the middle end driving.
Okay, but I mean, it's very hard to avoid that if you're in traffic and someone comes up. I mean, so yeah, I would say you've got a strong case. If they're not going to proceed with the claim, please email me. I would like to find out what's going on there. But as far as I'm concerned, they need to proceed with that third party claim. As far as you're concerned.
All right, Paul, stay on the line. I'm passing it back on to our producer to take your details. There's a question here from Mark in Benoni who says, Wendy, I bought a bed online from the bed shop. Oh, a week later, I still don't have the bed due to no stock. How can they sell a bed online and take the money if they don't have stock? What am I to do? Purchase was last week, Friday. And I'm curious, Wendy, and the reason I'm going to this specific question because it can speak to online in general. There are many stores that will specifically say 2 to 4 weeks. It's not necessarily that because they're selling it online. Sometimes they still need to order or I know of places where if you order a couch, it can take up to 8 weeks because they need to make it from scratch.
Yeah, so you've hit on the nub of the issue here, Relebogile. Absolutely right. So it's this Consumer Protection Act does give us protection if against non-delivery, but it depends on what the delivery promise was. So you can only complain and cancel the deal and ask for your money back if they haven't met their delivery promise. So it's vital before you make a purchase online that you actually look to see what the delivery.
Wendy, we lost you for a sec. We lost you for a second. You said to see if the delivery.
Look for the delivery date so that you can hold them accountable to something if they don't deliver. So not getting a bed within a week is only a problem if they said we will deliver within 48 hours.
I got you. So then the person needs to check.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and then if they failed their promise, if they haven't met their promise, then you can cancel the deal for a full refund.
All right. Thank you so much for your questions. Wendy Nola, we're back together next week.
The best thing about Decofern furniture is that it isn't just furniture. A table isn't just a table. It's Mom's cooking. A bed's more than a bed.
She's asleep.
It's where we keep our dreams. Even a couch can hold the biggest victories. Make more amazing memories with Decofern Furniture's best for less deals on top selling items. In store now or online at decofurnsa.co.za.
Are you a woman with a vision, drive, and a dream that's changing the world? The 2025 Santam Women of the Future Awards, in association with Fair Lady and True Love, is looking for you. They're celebrating the bold, brilliant women shaping tomorrow's future. If you're building something extraordinary, just starting out, or making a difference in your community, it's time to be recognized. Win national recognition, mentorship, and incredible prizes. Plus, you share your share of 275,000 Rand cash from Santam. Enter now at womenofthefuture.co.za. Entries close 13 June. This is your moment.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Drive your success and trade like a champion. CFI, a global leading broker now in South Africa. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial is an authorized financial services provider.
CFI, empower yourself.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. Don't forget, conversations or podcast, primemediaplus.com, or download the app as well. Again, shout out to Wendy Nola, our Bruce Lee, our Mike Tyson of consumer rights, and making sure that one of our listeners got a brand new car so that she can go back to doing what she does, which is e-hailing services. It's 3:00.
This is EWN.
An inquiry has been set up to look into delays in TRC prosecutions, and a memorial service is underway for Olorato Mongale. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Lamini. We begin with news just in. Retired Constitutional Court Justice Sisi Gampepe will chair an inquiry into the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The inquiry, established by President Cyril Ramaphosa,
take you live to Pretoria, where the South African Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee is announcing its latest interest rate decision.
In the world economy, we have therefore lowered our global growth projections. Prospects for global inflation are more complex. The United States could experience higher inflation from tariffs and supply chain disruptions. Those supply chain problems could also raise prices in other economies. At the same time, inflation could be lower given weaker world growth, cheaper oil, and abundant capacity in economies like China. Given these conditions, we see global interest rates slightly lower this year. The US Federal Reserve has kept rates unchanged recently, but other major central banks, such as the Bank of England and the European Central Bank, have cut their policy rates. Turning to South Africa, we do not yet have the official data for growth in the first quarter. However, the indicators for sectors like mining and manufacturing have been disappointing, and unemployment has risen. In our last meeting, we warned of downside risks to our growth forecasts. We have now trimmed our GDP projections and expect growth of 1.2% this year, rising to 1.8% by 2027. The outlook for structural reforms remains positive, but there are also headwinds like lower global growth. Given the lower forecast, we assess the risks to growth as